Good morning, my name is Karen Kong and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to the last This or That This or That for this year. It's what I do every week is post 2 cards to my group, and I ask my community to choose one of the cards to make live on Thursday mornings, and this is the card that got chosen. I have voters on Facebook and on Instagram, and I compile the results, and sometimes it's a surprise, but I think it was fairly unanimous this week. There's only, I think, one other person who voted for the other card, but fairly unanimous this week for this card. So it's a fun fold with a slider inside. Just quickly show you, and I'll tell you about how I created that inside. It's very easy. Let me just get my computer up and running so I can see all the comments while we're crafting. If you're joining in for the first time, please say hi. Please tell me where you're watching from, join in the conversation, and chat with me, because it's no fun to just talk to myself. And yeah, this is the last one for the year. I'm going to take a break after this to enjoy Christmas, and I hope that you will also be enjoying your family and some time off, and maybe even finding some time to craft. All right, my computer is up and running. Let me just switch over to my desktop so I can show you everything we're making. If you're watching, just close your eyes, because I'm going to remount my phone so that you can see the desk. Just a second. Here we go. So I cheated a little bit last week and this week. I'm using cards from the last class that I did this year. So I actually had these pieces all prepped because, and it's not because I had an extra, it's because when I made this, the pieces for this card, I accidentally scored in the wrong spot. So I figured out how I want to fix it. But let's show you the original design so you know what it's supposed to look like. So it's a slider card, and I learned how to do this this layout from Lynn Dunn on Stamptastic, Stamptastic cards, something like that. Sorry. Anyways, she had this fun fold, not the same DSP and not the same stamping or anything, but this layout. And so this card, when you pull it open, it has an inner mat that slides up. So you'll notice that mine has stamping at the bottom, and that it gets displayed as you pull it up. And this was actually a happy accident. I didn't realize when I was stamping my inside piece that it would be hidden underneath this bottom section here until I pulled it open. So it was a happy accident that it actually shows up when you open it up. So I'm happy it turned out. and it's pretty nice, actually. I like how it turned out. So I made my other cards like that too. So what I messed up when I cut for my class, for my card, is that I scored in the wrong spot. So if you take a look at this card base, the scoring is supposed to be here. Okay, so I scored here by accident, which was like a ½ inch too high, and so I had to rescore down here to make the correct score line. And then I wasn't sure what to do because now I have this extra fold. So I'm gonna figure out, I figured out how I want to fix that, and I'll show you as we make the card. But this is a really easy card to make, as long as you've got the right score lines and you put things in the right spot. So let's do that today. So because I've got everything cut out, I'm not going to have to trim things on my live, but I do have all the measurements, and I will post those in my video description after the live is done. So don't worry about writing everything down, just watch and enjoy. So this is Moody Mauve. The DSP is from the Nests of Winter, I believe. And I found that the Moody Mauve paired very well with this DSP, this particular sheet. And I actually made a different version with another sheet from that set, that DSP pack. So I didn't have enough left of this to cut more. So I actually cut from another sheet, which is in the same color scheme, and I think it looks really good with the Moody Mauve. I don't have a lot of Moody Mauve because I just bought the the mixed pack of cardstock. So it's I don't have a lot of the cardstock because I didn't buy a lot of DSP that matches it. I don't think I have any DSP actually that matches it, that has Moody Mauve listed in the coordinating colors, and I don't think it's listed for this one either, but it looks really good together. So I'm happy I found that. So okay, so I'll tell you what the measurement is. The card base is 4 1/4 by 11 inches, so it's a half of a sheet of a regular 8.5 by 11, but cut in half long ways. And I have to score it at 1 3/4. This is the 1 3/4 inch mark, and then 7 1/4 up here. Okay, so I made a mistake and I must have scored at 7 1/2. So it's 7 1/4. And inside you're going to want a white piece that is 3 3/4 by 5 3/8, and it is scored here. I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's at the 1/2 inch mark up here on the long side. So there's a little flap here. Okay, so I'm just going to re-burnish these folds on camera and make sure that they are burnished well. It's where I want them to fold. Okay, so when it's scored and folded properly, you'll see that the two ends should meet. So my first clue that it was not scored in the right spot was because when I folded this here, I had this huge gap and that was not right. So anyways, this is where it's supposed to meet up. That's where it's going to go. Then you're going to have 2 pieces of DSP for the background. Okay, so this piece here is 3 1/2 by 4 inches. This bottom piece here is 1 1/2 by 4 inches, and all you're going to do is glue them on. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. You'll notice that the DSP for this is the same pattern, but I'm using it in a different orientation because that's simply how much I had left, and it was not in the same orientation as the original card, but that's okay. It still looks good. Okay, so I'm just centering it here, and I'm going to cover up that erroneous score line. Okay, so most of it can't be seen on this side, right? You'll notice that it's the little edges here are scored, but you know, I don't think it's a big deal. And I'll show you what I'm going to do on the other side to hide it. So of course you can, you know, pull out your own stash and use whatever combination looks good together and make your own version of this inside slider card. Okay, so there's the front. Now there is that score line there, and I didn't want it folding by accident, and I wanted to make sure it was strong enough. So I just cut another piece of Moody Mauve, and it's exactly the size of the flap on the top, except that I made it a little bit short so that when it shuts, it doesn't impede the folding process. So you won't need to do this unless you make a similar mistake. But all I'm going to do is take that same Moody Mauve and cover up that score line and reinforce the strength of the front flap so it does not fold by accident along the old score line. Okay, so I'm just going to stick that on. So like I said, this is totally only a reality crafting piece, to the video. You won't need to do this unless you accidentally scored in the wrong spot like me. Okay, so look, you can't see the old score line, and I think it's fairly invisible. Most people won't even notice that that was there, okay? So there we go, that's fixed. All right, so for stamping, like I said, this was a happy accident. So I'm going to take my white piece here, okay? So I actually stamped along the bottom here, and I wanted to show a little bit more, so I'm going to make sure that I stamp a little higher this time, and make sure that it's fully visible. Like this one's not bad. You have to make sure it's actually flat open to see the full thing, the full sentiment. You can't see the bottom of this little bird, but that's okay. But I'm just going to stamp a little higher this time to make sure that it's fully visible. So the stamp set is from the Ness of Christmas, October 2024 Paper Pumpkin. And I'm going to stamp in Early Expresso. Let's see, Joyful Thoughts is on the inside. So I chose. Let's get a block here. Okay. Now I'm just going to use my my original card to kind of guide me on how high up this should be. So, and note that the top of this is actually the score line of the paper. So I'm just using it as a rough guide. Let's ink that up. And I always visually check that it's evenly and fully inked. And I'm using my grid paper kind of as a guide for keeping this straight. So I'm going to put this a tiny bit higher. That looks good. Let's clean this off. And I'm going to just glue my little bird in right here. Right, he goes just right there. I'm just kind of laying him out. I think I stamped a little far over to the left this time. And you know what? I don't think anybody's going to notice if I turn this over and re-stamp it, because it doesn't leave much room for my bird there. So let's try that again. Nobody's going to see the back side of this unless they pull it out, and I don't think they will. This is reality stamping, right? This is what you do when you make a mistake. You can either recut the piece of paper, or like I'm going to do, because this back is mostly going to be hidden, they're not going to, nobody's going to see it. I'm just going to stamp on the back side instead. So again, I'm going to make sure that I put it a little bit further over to the right and a little bit up from the original spot. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so now I have more room. That looks a little better, right? Okay, so let's glue this on. So yeah, I recommend doing your stamping before you attach this to the inside, in case you want to make some corrections or recut it. And for this particular layout, you're going to, it'll make it much easier to stamp it when it's not glued in yet. All right, so let's just add this. Hey, Sandra, you made it. Glad you're here. there's my bird. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold here on that score line, okay? Sandra, you just missed, I think you missed me making a mistake. I stamped a little bit too far over, so that's why you're seeing a sentiment on the back here. But let's burnish this fold really well, because it's going to want to be, flat when you have it open like that, right? Okay, where did my original piece go? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to unfold it, and what we want is we're going to lay this in between the two score lines, okay? I'm going to center it between the score lines on the top and bottom of the middle section. Okay, your small flap here is on the bottom, the bigger flap on the top, and what I'm going to do is I'm laying it out here, and I'm going to use some tear and tape to put some adhesive right up here. Oh, great, Sandra. Yeah, this is a great way to make impressively but easy cards. And I think you said you used them as gift card holders because you made it in a different orientation. Which is another great idea. So I'll show you how this bottom section actually creates a little pocket, okay? So at first I'm going to take care of this. So again, I'm just going to take off that adhesive, and I need a tiny bit more there. I don't want that little side edge to pull away. Yeah, so the front of this card I used branching out dies, but you can use whatever shape you want. It's really up to you. There's no reason why you have to use the branching out frame dies. You can use anything. Okay, so that goes a little bit over the edge. Let's pull that off. And I'll fold back. See this little extra adhesive? I'm just going to fold it back. There we go. Okay, so make sure that when you place your mat that you're not going over the score lines on top or bottom, because that will prevent it from folding shut properly. Okay, so I'm lining this up, and don't forget this is flat and the adhesive is facing up. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this top right on top of it, okay? I'm just checking that it's not over top of my fold line. Okay, and we're just going to press down. So now, when you pull it up and you refold on that score line, look, it will pull it up. Okay, now to prevent the bottom part from getting stuck inside here, okay, you don't want to use adhesive here. What you want to use is a bit of, what do they call it? Oh, I hadn't noticed that my camera focus was changing, Sandra. I hope it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so these are foam adhesive strips, and I'm just going to cut 2 little sections, and we're going to put them along the sides. So it's going to create like a little pocket. So if you look at the original one, if you can see down the side, you can see there's the foam strips on the side, and it creates like an empty pocket here. And that allows the inside mat to slide freely, okay? So I'm just grabbing some of this, and I'm just going to eyeball how long of a piece I need. Okay, so just kind of taking a look here. And I'm going to put it here. Okay, I'm going to put it right at the edge because it will just give enough room for the mat to slide in and out. Okay, I'll cut another piece about the same length. just pull it off because it's a small piece and trim it. And again, I'm going to make sure it's right at the edge there. I think this one's a little bit long. Oh, I think it'll be okay. I'm going to trim it actually just a little bit because it's very close to the score line here, and I think it's going to prevent it from folding properly. This one's a little bit further, has a little gap there, so I think that it'll work better. Just get underneath there, trim off a little bit. Okay, so let's take the adhesive backing off. And I'm going to make sure when I shut it that it doesn't sit on top of these. And if you really want to make sure, you could pull it out of the way completely. Okay, so now I have this little pocket and I can just slide this in. There we go. Oops, there we go. Okay. So now we just decorate the front. Okay, so your inside is done and you're just going to decorate your front. So I used the branching out dies. I believe this is the 3rd and 4th largest die. But again, you can choose whatever you like, whatever you think looks best to decorate it. Sandra, what shapes did you end up using for your front piece, for your 2 alternatives that you made? I think they were just rectangles, right? Like, I can't remember if there were any specific shapes, any special shapes, that is. Okay. And, oh, okay. Oh yeah, you notice that my pattern is different, right? I only had pieces, the remaining pieces that I had of this birch bark pattern were not big enough to cut this way, so I just changed it up to go vertically, and I think it looks good too. Okay, all right, let's stamp the sentiment, and I'm using the same sheet, so it says Happy Holidays. Let's ink this up. Okay. Doesn't that look nice? I think Early Expresso, there's certain inks that I find stamp well, and Early Expresso is one of them. It just stamps so clean and clear. Okay, so let's trim this. I'm just going to use a pair of scissors and we're going to trim it on an angle. Okay. I think I'll wait until I am done decorating the front and then I'll mount it, because these are mounted. I mounted this on dimensionals. So let's do that afterwards. Okay. So I'm just going to put this, I'm just taking a look and I can't remember if I did it afterwards or, I know I just said I would do it afterwards, but then I realized that it, when I put my sentiment on, it partially covers my seam here. And I'm just wondering if it's going to do the same thing if I don't mount it first. Yeah, I think I have approximately the right spot. Okay, let's just do this. You can do it before or after, whatever works for you. So I'm just going to use my grid paper to help me line things up. It doesn't have to be the same, but it looks pleasant like the way I had set it up, so I'm going to follow the same example. Oh, you know what? See, reality crafting. My end here of my sentiment is actually hanging off the side, so I don't need glue there. I'm just going to wipe that away with a paper towel. I'm just going to wipe away that small section of glue so it doesn't stick to anything. There we go. All right, so I only need glue up to a certain point. The rest of it is going to hang off the side. Okay. I think it looks visually pleasing to have the side of the sentiment lined up with the edge of my frame. So that's what I'm going to do again. Okay, and then I just glued this guy on. And because there is a gap, I don't know if you can see this, but there is a slight gap because it is the lower part of my bird is on top of another layer of paper, and which means there's a very slight gap behind the main part of the bird. So what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, I'm just going to use glue dots, because glue dots give it a tiny bit of extra height and will help keep it flat when it goes down on the paper there. Okay, so let's put a glue dot up here. And a glue dot on the berries. Whoops. Gotta be careful. That little berry section is more delicate there. It's only got that little branch in between. Let's put another glue dot. Perhaps, let me just turn this over. Okay. So it's really just the branch that is on top of the extra layer here. So I'm going to put one on the lower part of his body. And one more on his tail, perhaps. Okay, the tail is too skinny to put a full glue dot, so I'm going to put it right near the tail. That's true, I know. It's really just the paper crafters who are going to notice like all the little details. Okay, so let's put this straight here. And oh, you know what? I put a little bit of glue on the branch, so let's do that before I put it down so that the branch won't move or lift. There we go. So now my branch won't move. Let's place this. There we go. And lastly, I have already cut and tied a bow with linen thread. And I'm going to put a little glue dot on the back of that too. And I only use half a glue dot because it's too big for a tiny little knot, right? So I'm just going to trim that off. We'll stick the knot right on that blue dot. I'm going to put it on his branch there. Okay, so keeping in mind that we want this card to open and not be stuck shut, we have to make sure, and this is more for me than for you guys probably, that I don't put any dimensionals on the bottom part, okay? We just want the dimensionals on the top part here. So I think that's as far as down as I want to go. I'm just going to double check that. I've got my finger on the dimensional in the back, and yeah, I think that's going to work. Okay, won't go any further below that section. Okay, and I'm just taking the backings off. All right, and I'm just going to center this. I'm just going to double check before I press down. I just didn't cross the line there. And there you have it. That was super fast. Look at that. So that is the card today. It's really easy to make, but I mean, I do admit that I already pre-cut everything, but it's really, I mean, you don't have to use anything special. You don't have to use die cuts. You could just cut a rectangle and use it there, and you would be done. And I fussy cut like 1 or 2 birds, and that is our card today. So like I said, this is the last one, the last live I'm doing before the holiday season starts. And I wish all of you a happy holidays and Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. Some of you are celebrating Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah. And I hope you have a wonderful New Year's. And I will see you in 2026 for more crafting. Have a great holiday, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye.